Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is December 5th, 2021. You're now watching Real Talk with Ronnie live. I'm so happy to be with you guys tonight. It's after Thanksgiving. I think most people have gone over their food coma, their turkeys and everything. And right now, the next big thing to look forward to is Christmas. Of course, right now we're in the midst of Hanukkah, and of course, we wish all our friends, our Jewish friends, a happy Hanukkah. And so on today's show, we have a very great show. I might call it our Super Sunday show because we have two incredible guests. Our first guest is the Reverend Shawn Hyland. Shawn Hyland is, as a reverend. He was the executive director of the Family Policy Alliance of New Jersey. He was the former NJ state coordinator of Christians for Israel. And currently, he is running for the U.S. House in District 3. He is one of many candidates running for the GOP nomination, and he hopes to take on Democrat Andy Kim in 2022. Our second guest is Rik Mehta. Dr. Mehta, as you might know, was the 2020 GOP nominee for U.S. Senate here in Jersey. He set the world record in Jersey for getting the most votes ever for a Republican for a statewide race. He garnered, I want to say, around 1.8 million votes in 2020, and that record has still yet to be broken. Jack Ciattarelli did really well this year, but I think he got 1.2 million. Rik Mehta got 1.8 million, so that was in 2020. But of course, that was a presidential year, so the voter turnout is always higher during a presidential year. So Rik Mehta will be joining us later today. So first up, let's bring on Reverend Hyland. Hi, Reverend Hyland. How are you?
Doing great, Ronnie. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Sure. So Shawn Hyland, you are running for Congress from District 3, right? Why don't you tell us about yourself and about your run?
Yeah, well, again, thanks for having me on. I grew up here in the district and here in District 3, lived here from the time I was born, in childhood, teens, 20s, 30s, and now in my 40s, lived here in District 3. I have a working class background. I worked in manufacturing for quite a few years. I'm in a faith, I'm in a conviction, as you mentioned, and I'm big on family. I have a wonderful family. I'm a father of 4 children, wonderful wife who immigrated here from Honduras, loves this nation. I came here because it really gives her the opportunity and liberty and freedom that she didn't have in Honduras. And so it's great to be married to her for 21 years. And being here for the district, I'm concerned about this critical narrative against America. And I can see my wife coming here and how much she loves this nation. Many people born here are somewhat unthankful of this nation and highly critical of this nation. And I see the agenda of the far left against this nation. How I always say this, they want to disrupt and destabilize society in 4 ways. They want to dismantle the family, defund the police, demoralize students, and destroy the work ethic. It's a destructive and divisive agenda, and it has to be stopped. And I believe in House Representatives, I can be that checkmate against the far left.
Okay, great. Now, Reverend Hyland, I have to ask you, what drove you towards to become a pastor, a reverend? What was it about the ministry that appealed to you?
Yeah, well, again, quite a few years I was in manufacturing, and then at some point in my life, in my mid to late 20s, I really felt a strong call to serve people, to encourage people, to help them overcome some of the most difficult challenges in their life. And over the past 15 years, that's what I've been doing. So often we hear about politicians, talking to voters, talking to voters. Well, the past 15 years, I've been talking to people. They're not just voters. They're not just numbers in a data set that has to be moved to get out to vote come certain election cycles. These are people. These are families. I've been with them for 15 years when they struggled with their children who had addictions, when they couldn't pay their mortgage and had fear and anxiety about paying their bills, or maybe had a diagnosis of a major illness. I've been there with families and people for 15 years, and nothing like being in the ministry, helping to carry those burdens of everyday life.
Okay, great. Now, you were the executive director of the Family Policy Alliance of New Jersey, right? So, in that role, what were some of your duties?
Yeah, well, one of the major emphases that we had here in New Jersey was really parental rights in education, specifically in public school curriculum. As you know, a lot of parents, even nationwide, but right here in the state of New Jersey, are very troubled about some of the curriculum that's happening in public schools, really an ideology being taught into the classroom that's very radical for many families. And they want to know their rights and how they can, request the lesson plans and review the materials in the curriculum and testify at school board hearings across the state. So we advocated in Trenton with the state legislature oftentimes for parents and for their rights in the public school system, in addition to obviously the pro-life position and this radical reproductive freedom act that Governor Murphy has been trying to push in this state. Even his own party has objected and rejected this bill as so extreme.
Right. Speaking of this extreme bill, this bill, if the viewers don't know, it allows the abortions of fetuses to occur in months 7, 8, and 9, right? And it also allows it to be performed by someone that's other than a doctor. Now, you have mentioned that this is an extreme bill, right? Even the members of his party are, against it. So, what do you think is the motivating factor behind this bill?
Well, it's all about the big abortion industry. It's all about Planned Parenthood. He has an allegiance to that organization. They are major funders of the far left and of the Democrat Party here in this nation. And I really believe much of this bill has to do with pleasing that organization and other people within the big abortion industry. It's not about parents. It's not about children. It's not about healthcare. It's about pleasing an industry that's very influential in our political system. And I simply oppose that type of political ideology being forced upon people at the harm of innocent preborn children.
Right. Now, your personal stance is you are pro-life, right?
Yes, I'm pro-life. Absolutely. I believe every child has the right to live.
Okay. Now, are you pro-life for every single case, or do you allow for exceptions when it comes to rape or incest, or when the life of the mother is in jeopardy?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So when it comes to public policy, we could stop as many abortions as possible and give these children the ability to live. We want to make sure we regulate the abortion industry. When it comes to passing a bill, if I had the opportunity to stop abortions in months 7, 8 to 9, more importantly, even at the 20-week mark when the baby feels the pain of the abortion, I want to advocate strongly for that. If the compromise, of course, is for rape or incest, when a crime has been committed, such as in rape and incest, of course, there would be an exception to that bill, and I'd be more than happy to support that exception.
Okay. Now, given the fact that you're a pastor, I know that the social issues are going to be a big part of your platform, right? What else is a big component of your platform?
Yeah, well, I think the whole idea of socialism and changing our economic system here in our country, really targeting small businesses that somehow they're the problem in society. These are the ones that create the economic growth for this nation. These are the people who employ. These are the people who take the risk and the investments. To start businesses, and many businesses never make it more than the past year 2, 3, or 4, and those that do are great to employ other people and to invest in other businesses moving forward. And I see this fundamental change in our culture and how we view our business community. I want to make sure that we have an affordable system where for families that can pay their bills, that inflation doesn't rise to such historical levels, and that businesses have to shut down because of broken supply chain or again rising inflation, where people can't afford the goods and services that they produce. It's a troubling economic system. I still believe in our capitalistic market where people can invent, be creative, work hard, and receive the reward of their labor.
Right. Okay. Now let's see here. I'm throwing this up. You were the former New Jersey state coordinator of Christians United for Israel. Now, in this capacity, what did you do?
Yeah, so oftentimes we would go to DC every year for a major summit to help advocate for the nation of Israel and against anti-Semitism and the BDS movement, the boycott, divestment, and sanction movement, really finding a place on universities, training up the next generation to somehow have this, again, critical narrative towards the Jewish state in Israel. I do believe Israel has a right to defend themselves against terrorists, against foreign enemies, and I'm concerned, like many others, that President Biden is going to allow possibly for Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon. And that's the type of situation that we stood against at Christians United for Israel, to make sure Israel has a safe and secure homeland for the Jewish people.
All right, great. Now, in your race for District 3, it's a full house, right? There's a lot of candidates who are currently in the running for the nomination. Some of the candidates are Bob Healy, right? He is a a yacht manufacturer, a businessman, Trisha Flanagan, Will Monk, and I'm sure there will be others, right? What is it about Shawn Hyland that makes you the better candidate?
Yeah, again, just looking at being a voter here in Ocean County, Burlington County in 2022, forecasting that ahead, when I'm sitting here this year thinking, should I run for office? Should I really take this next step and put my name in the game, if you will? And just thinking, well, am I going to be satisfied in June of 2022, seeing 2 or 3 or 4 candidates on that primary ballot and really realizing there's no one there that's truly going to amplify and elevate a clear and committed conservative voice in the House of Representatives. Someone who's not going to be afraid of the far left, of their lies and of their labels, and someone who believes that America is better than how the far left has described us to be. I want to see America with stronger families, safer neighborhoods, better schools, and more economic growth. And I'm the kind of guy that will go down to Washington, D.C. and simply tell them the truth about this nation, what's great about this nation, and not bow down to the radical agenda of the far left.
Okay, great. When you announced your candidacy, one of your opponents for the nomination, Trisha Flanagan, she released, I believe, a statement, right? And in regards to you, this is what she said, quote, "I smell an establishment rhino with this novice primary challenger for Trisha Flanagan. When will the establishment learn that patriots will never support that?" Well, she said crap, but but I think you get the gist of her quote. So basically, she's calling you a rhino. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I know I'm going down to Washington, D.C. to once again really challenge the agenda of the far left. I'm a man of conviction. I'm a man of strong values. I see what's going on here in America, this critical, polarizing narrative that's really caused an identity crisis in this nation. People no longer understand if America is a force for good in the world or if it's the problem in the world. The far left thinks we're the problem. I believe America is a force for good in the world. So I'm going down to Washington, D.C. to fight for strong family values, economic growth, safe neighborhoods, and better schools to stop this ideology being imposed upon our children.
Okay. All right. Well, so Shawn, given the fact that you're a pastor, right? It's a very noble job. Do you think you have what it takes to take on the dirty city world of politics in DC? Or do you think we need someone like a pastor to kind of clean it up?
Yeah, well, and just to be clear, I'm a minister, or the minister. I teach and I speak in churches. I don't pastor congregation, but I do teach in churches all across New Jersey and even in other states. And yes, I do think being a man of conviction is very important right now. There's such a really battle going on for the future of our nation and how we're going to take this nation forward. Will it be a nation that's going to fall into the hands of a socialist government where capitalism is now the problem, where individual rights are beginning to being stripped away? We need to realize that our rights are God-given rights. The Constitution recognizes the rights that God has given us, and it's a job of the government to protect those rights. So as a man of conviction, a man of faith, I understand when I'm fighting for these rights, for the American people, for our freedoms, for our liberties, I am fighting for what God has given this great nation, which is our constitutional rights.
Okay. So you mentioned that you have four children, right? When you decided to jump into this political, jungle, did you talk it over with your family, and what did they say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I spoke over with my family. They watch the news. They understand what's happening in this country. They're as concerned as anyone else. You think some of us who are in our 40s and 50s, who've been around for a few decades, maybe we see the transformation in our country, but even my children who are in their teens and in their 20s, they've seen it as well. They're concerned about it. They see it on social media. They know what the narrative is in this about this country out there, and so much of the pop culture in our universities, in academia, in the media. And they want someone like myself who they know that I'm firm in what I believe. I know what I believe and why I believe it. And they're proud that I'm stepping up to take this position and to elevate and to amplify conservative voices here in New Jersey.
Okay. Perfect. Now, you're going to be taking on, if you get the nomination, right, you'll be taking on Andy Kim, who actually, so his seat was one of the 7 House seats in I believe in 2020 that was won by Trump, but also by a Democrat. Okay, so it's one of seven. That district currently has 11,000 more Democrats, right? Which is not a big edge, right? But certainly it is an edge, right? What will you do to try to win that seat back? Like, what are some of your strategies?
Yeah, I think the key is to make sure people realize that Congressman Kim is part of the Progressive Caucus in Washington D.C. He's not just a moderate Democrat; he's a far
Right.
left Democrat.
Well, he
And many
says he's
people,
a moderate, though, right?
I believe he tries to communicate that, but in reality, when you look at his voting record and the caucuses that he does business with, he's not part of the problem-solving caucus or some moderate caucus. He's part of the Progressive Caucus, and so his true voting record can identify him about where he really stands on the issues. And I think if Burlington County and surely Ocean County knows the voting record of Congressman Kim, they're going to choose something different in 2022.
Okay. Now, this is your first run for a political office, right?
Yes, it's my first run.
Okay. What are you gonna do from now until next year, the primary season?
Because right now I'm going out almost two, 3 times a week at night, meeting the different Republican clubs here in the county, in the district, meeting the leaders, the mayors, and the municipal chairs, and the club presidents, introducing myself to some of the county leaders. Of course, I had a good reputation at the state capitol and the legislature with the policy that we dealt with for years at Family Policy Alliance of New Jersey. But at the local level, it's a lot of introductions. I've had some great rallies here in the district for voters to come out to meet me, to get a chance to hear my message, and really building my name ID across Ocean and Burlington counties. And of course, next year when the districts are finally complete, we know exactly which towns are in the district. We'll be able to focus, more in detail on where to hit and where to target.
Okay. So Shawn, let's go on to some fun questions for the voters to get to know you, right? So what does Shawn Hyland do on like a weekend?
So on the weekend, I probably get a few extra cups of coffee than just my normal 2 or 3. I do like a cup of coffee throughout the day and just go for a walk with my wife. So we love to get a chance to go to the Seaside Heights Boardwalk or Ocean Gate or Island Beach State Park right here on the Jersey Shore. It's a beautiful area of the state. And so oftentimes we'll take, during the nicer months, head outside and enjoy the location of living here on the Jersey Shore.
Okay. So, those of us who live in, Northern Jersey go down to the shore for like the summer, right? Or just to get away. For those of you like yourself who live at the Jersey Shore, right? Is there somewhere that you go to kind of get away?
Well, so on weekends during the summertime, we don't necessarily go over to the seaside and whatnot. It's a great time for visitors across the state to enjoy this area. However, again, Island Beach State Park is a beautiful state park here on the Jersey Shore, very similar to Sandy Hook, which is still south of Bergen County, but a little bit north of me. It's a great park to go to. It's somewhat quiet even in the summertime. It's a good opportunity for the locals to turn out and enjoy the ocean as well.
Okay. I think I read that during Hurricane Sandy, right? Your house was devastated, right?
Yes, at that time we were renting and our house got destroyed. It was in the Bricktown area. So many others, tragically, 4 feet of water in the house. Everything was destroyed. And at that time, it was very difficult to find rentals after that point because most rentals were obviously destroyed or there's such a large demand for rentals. It wasn't a lot of houses available. So it was a very trying season. And then finally we bought a house in a different township here in Ocean County. But yeah, like so many other families on the Jersey Shore, Superstorm Sandy definitely tested, our life. But once again, so many others, we rose again from that challenge and reestablished ourselves and got a home.
All right. What is your favorite food, Shawn?
It depends on what day of the week it is. And
okay.
So, one day it could be Italian, next day it could be Mexican. But I just love something that has cheese and spice and flavor to it.
Okay, so is it always tacos on Tuesdays or no? It kind of changes.
It kind of changes. It's kind of unpredictable, but it's definitely going to happen sometime throughout the week. Absolutely.
Okay. What was it today? So today's Sunday. So did you have like a pasta dinner? Or like
So it was tacos.
Okay, tacos. Okay, so
It was tacos
tacos
and
Sundays.
burritos. Yeah, see, there you go.
Okay,
So it
great.
was Sunday, not Tuesday, but that's where it landed. Absolutely, it was
All
great.
right.
I
Now,
enjoyed it.
who is the chef of the house? You or Mrs. Hyland?
It would be Mrs. Hyland for sure. Mrs.
Okay.
Hyland for sure. I tried my hand at the stove once or twice, and I did not pass the test. And so she's much more equipped than I am to feed our family.
All right. So that's why you decided to run for Congress, right?
Exactly. I had to do something to help the household out. She was
Right.
gonna, master the stove. At least I could help make good public policy.
Okay, great. Now, Shawn, what are your thoughts on this past election?
In 2021, here in New Jersey.
Yep.
Yeah, so Jack was a great candidate. We were really rooting for him. Down in Ocean County, they turned out very well for Jack.
Mhm.
He had like a 75,000, plus in our county, I think 148,000 total votes. So he had a great turnout here down on the Jersey Shore. We were really rooting for him. Of course, statewide, we picked up a lot of great seats. It is encouraging for the Republican Party to win districts, to see, of course, Senate President Steve Sweeney be retired for now and Ed Dare take his seat. We still have a long way to go in our state, but I think as we continue to plow ahead, get our message out, I got to tell this: our state is a very diverse state. It's a state full of immigrants. That's the beauty of New Jersey, and many of these immigrant families, they have strong conservative values. They come from cultures and traditions that are conservative, and some of the radical progressive ideologies of the far left, they don't agree with them. And so I think if the
Right.
Republican Party begins to really push our conservative values, amplify our conservative values, make our message known to these communities, we're going to see the Republican Party really excel here in the state.
Okay. Phil Rizzo, who you might know, is he ran for governor too, right? And he's also a minister. Well, I know that so you're a minister also, right? So you guys are kind of in that same God group, right? Do you talk to Mr. Rizzo often?
Yeah, I've spoken to Phil maybe 2 or 3 times over the past year. Yeah, so
Okay.
Phil has done a great job here in New Jersey, again, really mobilizing and energizing a conservative base. Again, because that's what conservatives are looking for. It's a strong conservative voice. And Phil, really filled that and continues to fill that on social media and with his new PAC. So he's done a great job throughout the state and helping to amplify the conservative voice on state issues. I hope to do something similar on federal issues as amplify the conservative voice in Washington, D.C.
Okay. Now, do you think you are too conservative for Jersey, or do you think you were just right?
Oh, I think I'm just right. Again, as I speak to so many families here in this state, my values resonate with their values. We believe in strong families, and whatever area of the state you come from, whatever background, whatever political party, at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want safe neighborhoods. We want better schools. We want more economic growth. The difference is, how do you accomplish those things? And I believe that limited government, more personal responsibility, has the individual flourishing and America prospering. That's the best way to move forward.
Okay. What is your favorite movie?
It's hard to say. I'm not a big movie watcher. I do watch movies, but I'm more of a news junkie, if you will. Just kind of staying on top of what's going on, and keep my eyes glued to my iPad and seeing the latest articles coming up, and trying to keep a good handle on what's happening on the national, federal level when it comes to public policy. Again, I do watch TV. I do watch movies. It's just hard to top of my head to give you one that's really going to stick.
How about Passion of the Christ? I think
Yeah,
that was a pretty good one, right?
sure. Yeah, made about 15 or 16 years ago. Great
Yeah, the
movie.
Mel Gibson film. Yeah.
Yeah, about the death of Jesus and all that he
Mhm.
suffered for the sins of the world. That's a movie that if you have not seen, I would encourage everyone to go out and watch, even here during this Christmas season.
Now, speaking of Christmas, what are your Christmas plans?
Well, we'll be at a church on Christmas Eve for 2 services, helping to serve our faith community during that time. And then we'll enjoy some time with family across the state, meeting my in-laws who live in different parts of New Jersey.
Have you finished all your Christmas shopping yet? Or sorry, have you given your list to Santa yet?
So I finished my Christmas shopping. I'm not sure if Mrs. Hyland has finished our Christmas shopping. And so
Okay.
there's still some work to be done, I think.
Okay. Well, Shawn, I've thrown up your website here, highlandforcongress.com. So for all the viewers who are watching right now, if you'd like to learn more about Shawn and his campaign for Congress, and please let the viewers know when is the primary for Congress next year.
So primary will be in June of 2022.
Okay.
So we have about 7 months to go. So I'll let people to go onto highlandforcongress.com, watch some videos. You'll know my positions from day one. I let my positions be made known. I'm a man of conviction. I know what I believe and why I believe it. And that's why when I first launched the campaign, I knew from day one where I stand on the issues. And so if you're conservative, you want to see a limited government, personal responsibility, you want someone to defend the American way of life, defend our liberties and our freedoms, I want to encourage you to go to highlandforcongress.com and support this campaign.
All right, perfect. Will there be a primary debate between you and your opponents?
I mean, I would hope so. I know last year there's a primary debate in 2020. It was done through Zoom at that point because of COVID being at the height of what it was in 2020. I'm not sure how it would be handled in 2022, but I do hope to have a debate on the policy issues. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about: public policy, what's good for America and what's good for New Jersey. And we need to have a national conversation and a local conversation on the best solutions to the problems that face this nation.
Okay. Well, what do you say to people who are maybe disenfranchised or no, sorry, they're disillusioned by the entire voting process, given these mail-in ballots? What do you say to those people who may just say, there's no point in voting, let me just stay home?
Yeah, well, I can see down here in District 3, in Ocean County and Burlington County, our Board of Elections can be trusted. Elections are handled very well in this district. So if you're looking at the federal level, at the state level, and you're mistrustful about the situation and completely understanding, especially in 2020, most unconventional, unorthodox election in the history of any democracy, let alone our constitutional republic, I can see why people are somewhat hesitant to think their vote makes a difference. But in District 3, in Ocean, Burlington County, our votes can be trusted, the elections can be trusted, and I want to encourage every constituent of this district to go out and vote in 2022.
Okay. One last question, Shawn, and I'll let you go because I know you've got a busy schedule. Suppose you win the nomination and you beat Andy Kim and you're in Congress. What are the 3 top policy issues that you want to focus on?
One, as we just kind of mentioned, I want to see a public hearing on the role of big tech and censorship in our elections. I think big tech needs to be held accountable. There's so many questions in this country about their influence, about their power over the narrative of this nation and what people think when it comes to politics and policy, even how they identify themselves as Americans. So that needs to be made public through a congressional committee hearing in detail. 2, want to focus on parental rights. So many parents are frustrated. You see it at school boards all across this nation, from Virginia to New Jersey to many other places. Parents have rights over the children. It's not the government's job to raise the children. It's not the government's job to interfere in the relationship between a mother and her child. And yet that's happening more and more. We want to put the rights of parents at the forefront. And 2, have a national conversation about how we can build trusted relationships in our cities with our law enforcement community. I back the law enforcement community. That's a strong institution helping to protect us from crime, from violence. We're seeing a crime surge in this nation right now. Highest has been in 30 years. And yet when you defund the police, you don't get a more just or equal city. You get a more unsafe city. And so we need to really fund the police, back them up, help them to serve their community, and help these communities be safer moving forward.
Right. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Reverend Hyland, for being on our show today. We hope that going forward, you will also be a big fan of Real Talk with Ronnie, since you mentioned you're a news junkie. So please catch us every Sunday night at 8 p.m. All right, guys. So this is Shawn Hyland running for Congress in District 3. If you want to check him out, go to highlandforcongress.com. Thank you, Shawn, and we will talk to you very, very soon. Okay.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. So that was my exclusive interview with Shawn Hyland, Reverend Shawn Hyland. First time he's been on Real Talk. I first met Shawn at the BCRO headquarters, I want to say a couple of weeks ago, and he was a super nice guy. So I asked him if he wanted to, come on, because I recognized him from somewhere. And then I realized, I recognize him because I've seen him in the news, because I too am a bit of a news junkie. So I read up on the news, and I was happy to get a chance to finally meet Shawn, and we wish him the best of luck in his campaign. All right, guys, next up, on our Super Sunday, we have someone who is very special, someone who is a political powerhouse in Jersey, and he goes by the name of Dr. Rik Mehta. Rik Mehta, if you guys don't know, which is impossible, but he ran for for U.S. Senate. He was the GOP nominee for U.S. Senate in 2020, and he ran against Cory Booker. Rik Mehta set the record in Jersey for obtaining the most votes by a Republican in a statewide race in history. In the history of New Jersey, he has gotten the most votes as a Republican. I believe his vote count that year was, I believe, around 1.8 million votes. So, he even okay. So I think to put it into perspective, this year Jack Ciattarelli, he got around 1.2 million votes, right? Rik Mehta got 1.8 million. So 500,000, no, over 600,000 people more voted for Rik Mehta. But again, in a presidential year, the turnout is always greater. But nevertheless, Rik Mehta holds the record for having the most votes out of any Republican person to run for a statewide seat in New Jersey. Beyond his Senate race, Rik Mehta is a lawyer, an entrepreneur, a pharmacist, a healthcare policy expert. He is actually a jack of all trades and a master of all of them. So let me bring on Dr. Mehta. Hi, Rick. How are you?
Hey, Dr. Lin. How are you? Great to be with you.
Yep. Thank you for coming on. I've been trying to get you to come on for like a few months now, but I know you're super, super busy. But thank you for finally finding the time to come on. My previous guest on prior to you was Shawn Hyland, right? He wanted me to say hello to you. He said that when you ran for Senate last year, his group they supported you. So so he was very happy to hear that you were my second guest. So, Rick, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Ron, let me just say thank you so much for making this happen. My apologies for not joining earlier, but I'm so glad we got some time today to talk and chat politics, especially as we're breaking barriers. And you yourself, congratulations on your race. Really job well done. And it's good to see, more young folks getting involved in politics, especially here in Jersey, where we know we have to make a lot of changes. Shawn Hyland, great guy. Glad he's also entered his race, and of course, wish him luck. Let me tell you though, Ron, my story is much like your story. It's much like everyone in Jersey's story. It started with hard work, humble beginnings, and the belief that the American dream is available to anyone willing to chase it. And let me tell you, chase it is exactly what I did. And my father, and we didn't come from much as a family of immigrants. When my father came to this country in 1969, he flew into JFK Airport. He saw hope, he saw opportunity, and he saw freedom. He landed there, took a bus to Scranton, Pennsylvania. He happened to meet my mother at Temple University. They got married in Philadelphia, and the rest is history. In fact, similarly, I met my wife at Rutgers University. That's where we went to school. Both went to pharmacy school many, many years ago. Won't date myself. We've been married for 11 years with 3 kids. But I'll tell you, as a pharmacist, I worked at Robert Wood Johnson. And again, we'll talk a little bit about things going on in the healthcare field here. But I worked hard. I put myself through law school at Rutgers Newark. I'd take the train up, day classes, and I'd work overnights. And then I joined the FDA, ran a health department, and came back, worked in pharmaceutical healthcare policy, also an adjunct law professor at Georgetown, and then started my own businesses. Truly been blessed to really live the American dream. But I'll tell you the 2 things that I'm most proud of, and that's being a husband and being a father. And as a father to 3 boys, I am concerned about the future of our country. I'm concerned about the future of our state. The tyranny, the lockdowns, where so many immigrants come to America to break free from the chains of poverty, the cycles of poverty, and to break free from tyrannical rule and government overreach. And America is turning exactly into that. They're turning into countries that believe socialism is a value. And that's scary to me. I want my children to live the American dream and achieve all that they can be without regard to race, religion, creed, color, and you name it. And I'm excited about the future. And I'll tell you, the one thing about me is I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I know that things aren't great in this country right now. The economy is poor. Joe Biden is really driving the car down. But I'll tell you, I'm excited about what's coming in 2022. I'm excited about thought leaders like yourself, like myself, and others that are stepping up to fix this state and fix this country, and that truly are doing it for the right reasons and believe in that American dream. So, Ron, thanks again for having me here tonight.
Sure. Well, thank you, Rick, for finding the time to come on. So, Rick, I think your background and mine are pretty similar in the fact that both our parents came from other countries, right? But as I stated many times, my parents came from Taiwan in 1980, right? And they came to the U.S. for the same reasons your parents came, right? For the hope and opportunity, right? And of course, they came through this country through the legal fashion, right? Through the legal channels. They waited in line. They came, and they did it all above board. What are your thoughts on the immigration crisis that is going on now?
Well, I think you just said it right. It's a crisis. And I got to tell you, as much as there's rhetoric about either closing the borders or opening up the borders, I'll tell you right now, my heart breaks. My heart breaks when I see this humanitarian crisis, the Biden administration, Vice President Harris specifically, who continues to encourage immigrants to illegally cross the border and come to this country without any, opportunities for prosperity, while, like you said, cutting the line and really taking away opportunities for Americans. Listen, America is a cultural melting pot. I mean, we're blessed to live with so many different cultures and really assimilate into what we know. In fact, New Jersey, where 1/3 of citizens are immigrants and so many businesses are started by immigrant families, it's a blessing to have that, but it's got to stay legal. Many Democrats were quick to criticize President Trump about building the wall, but the truth is it works. They don't like policies that work. That policy worked. And you see what's going on right now. COVID is creating a distraction, so people are looking the other way while immigrants are coming in. They have policies that say, you have to mandate vaccinations to people, either airline pilots, healthcare workers, businesses. I'm glad the courts are striking that down now. But then you have immigrants flooding in illegally without getting vaccinations. So again, the hypocrisy is palpable by the Biden administration, but looking the other way, seeing how kids are separated from their families, encouraging more people to come here to cross the border and breaking up families, which is leading to increased flow of narcotics and drugs into our country, increased crime rates down at the southern border. And if you think that this is just a southern state problem, it's not. This is not Texas's problem. This is not Arizona, New Mexico's problems. They have buses where illegal immigrants are coming straight up to Jersey, and they're getting safe havens by Governor Murphy and others to encourage this. In fact, they're getting also handouts and special, interest funding being carved out for the encouragement of illegal immigration, including driver's licenses, scholarships, and funding, while American families sitting right here at home are struggling and having a hard time feeding their families. So we really got to fix the problem down at the border, and it's got to start with common sense policies that closes the border and allows for respect for the rule of law.
Right. And speaking of common sense policies, I mean, President Biden, he recently said that those families who were separated at the borders, right, he wants to give them like $400,000 each.
That's right. Yeah. Where's my $400,000 check?
I know, right?
We're working hard every day.
Yeah, I think that's more money than some, goals to our families get, right?
That's right. That's right. And that's a great point. There's no respect for our military and our veterans that fight so hard to actually defend our country, defend her rights, and defend her borders. Leaving an open border is just a slap in the face to our military families.
Okay. So, Rick, why don't you talk to us about your 2020 race for U.S. Senate? Now, at that point, that was your first time running to run for politics, right?
Yep, that's right.
So your first shot, and you decided, I'm going to run for U.S. Senate. So what was it about the U.S. Senate that that made you want to run for it?
Well, I got to tell you, Ron, it was less about the seat. For me, I'm not looking to build a career in politics. It was more about authentic leaders stepping up and doing the right thing. Now, Cory Booker, he actually spoke at my law school commencement. I always found him to be a little fraudulent in his statements, very lofty in his goals without accomplishments, and very superfluous and sugary in his words without much action. And so when he was, again, running for his second term, and you saw what happened in Newark, I mean, I went to law school there, you know, seeing what's going on in the state and the fact that he missed more than 65% of the votes in the Senate, you know that he was just trying to build his career off the backs of our proud communities, off the backs of, you know, Black and brown communities specifically. And rather than actually fighting for policies that give back to them, you know, he had the opportunity to pass criminal justice reform when Obama was president, never did it, couldn't get it done until Trump became president, and then tried to take the credit and smack President Trump back for saying that he's quote unquote racist, et cetera. When in fact, President Trump's policies actually helped the Black and brown community. Cory Booker would push back against that. So I saw such dripping, palpable hypocrisy for a man that was just a do-nothing politician that I decided to step up in the race. And to be honest with you, you know, I felt like we needed a strong candidate with the right background at the time. I felt I was the right guy. And for me, it was knowing less about politics and more about being inspired to do the right thing that made me want to jump in the race.
Okay. When Cory Booker spoke at your commencement, that's when he was mayor, right, of Newark?
That's right. Yeah. I don't know. I think I slept through half of it, but yes, that was right.
All right. What were some of the difficulties and some of the lessons that that you learned from that 2020 race?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, running that race was probably the greatest honor of my life. You know, it was the best job interview I had for more than a year and a half, campaigning up and down the state. And what an honor it was to meet so many beautiful New Jerseyans from South Jersey to North Jersey and, you know, the debatable Central Jersey, which I believe there's a Central Jersey. Just, you know, so many great women and men working so hard to feed their families, make a living, and make Jersey one of the best states in the union. May not feel that way right now under Governor Murphy, but, you know, I love Jersey. And it was truly an honor. I'll tell you, though, anyone who's looking to run for office, two things you got to know. First, stay true to who you are. Don't let politics change you. And two, know your why. Why are you running? And stick to those points. And if you do that, I'm telling you, you can make an effective leader. I think people in New Jersey are begging for more authentic leaders to step up. They don't want politicians, like career politicians, who are making a living off of politics. You know, they don't want the business of politics anymore. And you saw a lot of that in the governor's race, where people are just fed up with policies. They want people to go to Trenton and go to Washington and do their job. And that's exactly what I'd say was, you know, the funnest part about the job is just staying true to who I am.
Okay. So after that race, and by the way, you got 1.8 million votes, right? The most votes that were ever received by a Republican candidate for statewide office, right? That was one big feat. How did you do that?
Well, you know, I had a great ticket. I got to tell you, we got a lot of people bottom of the ticket energized and fired up. And the truth is, and you're right, it's such an honor to hold that record, to achieve the highest number of votes in the history of any Republican, beating Bob Hugin by over 500,000, and of course, Jack Ciattarelli. And even on presidential years, you know, we beat a lot of records. And so it's an honor to have that. You know, it wasn't enough to pull it over, but look, Cory Booker is a titan of politics. So that was going to be a tough feat. I'll tell you, how we did it was simple. Again, stay true to who you are and campaign with the people. If you run your race campaigning for what the people want to hear, you don't play slippery slope politics or change your position so people don't trust who you are, you're going to get people to step up and step out and vote for you. Now, I'll tell you, Ron, the one thing that I'm most excited about and proud of, more than the 1.8 million, is that we had more than 500,000 non-Republicans vote for me. 500,000 non-Republicans. That means we inspired 500,000 people to switch over, whether they're Democrats or independents, and say, Rick is the guy that's going to lead us in Washington. And that truly was an honor.
Okay. Well, that's great. And by the way, I think you're also the first Asian American candidate to run for a statewide race, right?
Yeah, I believe that's right. I was the first Asian American to run statewide. You know, even the Democrats, as much as they try to say that they're about, equality and equity and identity politics that they play.
Right.
That's right. For the number of Asians that are in this state, they've never had a nominee take on that. That's right. And also the first person of color to win a statewide nomination, either for governor or for U.S. Senate for the Republican Party. And we're very proud of breaking those glass barriers.
That's great. And speaking of barriers, I believe you told me once that in India, right, you're like a superstar there, right?
Yeah, I'm sure I'm like some D-rate celebrity out there.
Have you gotten any calls?
What's
sorry.
that?
No, sorry, go.
Okay.
No, I was going to ask you, like, did you get any calls from Bollywood producers?
We did, yeah. We've had a few stars and producers reach out, and we're not making any productions or any movies, but the truth is that it's a country with a lot of proud people, and they see me as someone to relate to the minority community, especially for the Republican Party, that so many of us that are people of color believe in the same conservative values, but it's hard to break into winning those nominations. So they're very proud. We received a lot of, the proudest was that one of my uncles, my father's second cousin actually saw me on one of the, I guess, national news and, kind of spit his chai out and called my dad. He was just so shocked to see my face. And then when we ran, our face was all over the news up and down the country.
That's great. We're certainly, like a big inspiration for like a lot of people. So, great job. We have a comment here from one of our viewers who's also been a guest on the show, Diana Cerejo, who ran for council in Woodcliff Lake this past year. So she asks you, how did you decide to start in politics?
Yeah. Hey, Diana, great to see you. That's a wonderful question. To be honest with you, when my wife and I were raising children here, and we saw that, there were a lot of politicians, again, that were building their careers in politics and not really doing the right thing. Saw taxes going high, and we were concerned about what the future of the country would be. And so, I became inspired by a lot of the policies and positions that the Trump administration put out. And I saw that, a lot of these policies could benefit the state of New Jersey to really help average Americans be able to live and feed their families. And so, there was really no magic reasoning behind that. Just one day I was talking to my wife and we were talking a little bit about politics and policies and raising 3 boys in the state. And I said, we really need authentic leaders to step up. And she just looked at me and she said, why don't you do it? And I said, I hadn't thought about that. As a law professor, I enjoy going up and talking policies, and I'm certainly not shy about that. I said, what, let's give it a shot. And, the rest was history. Okay.
Diana, by the way, we wish her father a speedy recovery, because she mentioned that her father had to go to the hospital today due to a fall. So we wish him the best. Okay.
God bless you, Diana.
Speaking of politics, so you're currently running now again for politics, for a political seat, right? You were running for Congressional District 7 for the congressional seat there against Democrat Tom Malinowski, who squeaked by the skin of his teeth to win a second or third term last time, right?
That's right.
So, but this race is also contested in the GOP side, right? And I think there's a few candidates who are also running. One of them is John Eisman. The other one is Tom Kean Jr., who's a pretty big name, right? So, I mean, this seems like it's got the potential to kind of get bloody, right? Since you're a big name, Tom Kean Jr. is a big name. So, how do you think this is going to play out?
Well, first of all, Ron, let me tell you that it's always great when more people step up and enter into politics. I hope that if anything that came out of the U.S. Senate race when I ran, I inspired more people to come in and get involved. And even if they don't run for office, they can't stay sleeping to see what's going on in the state. There's a few things that I'm concerned about that's going on. First is education. We got to stop the pushing of identity politics, critical race theory, and these terrorist organizations like Black Lives Matter. Listen, I know, probably like you, I grew up with plenty of incidences of racism. And believe me when I say that I want my 3 boys to be judged not by the color of their skin, but their character. And that means the world to me. That being said, we can't rewrite our history. We got to make sure that our kids are empowered to be economically successful. And that those policies are one of the most important policies that I'm going to work on. Second, we got to preserve the innocence of our children. We can't continue to push hypersexualized curriculums early on in kindergarten, teaching them about, well, God knows what, things that they're not mature enough to even understand. I can barely get my 5-year-old right now to figure out how to tie his shoes. Never mind understand what sex is. We got to preserve their innocence. So education is critical. The second is our healthcare industry. And I'll tell you right now, there's no one in this race that understands the healthcare system and the failures of Obamacare and the poor mismanaged response to COVID than me. Someone who truly is at the cross section of medicine and law. In fact, I'm an adjunct professor at Georgetown University teaching health law. And it's sad when my law school hypothetical questions have now become reality. Can you mandate the use of an investigational product? I mean, in all cases, that would always be no. And now that's become our reality. So right now, you have a Democrat incumbent who's a junior congressman who won his second term. So his next 4 years, completing his 4 years, off the principle of profiteering off the pandemic. I mean, there is no one more sleazy and unethical than Tom Malinowski. I'll tell you that. And so we're real excited that the 7th District will become another Republican gem in 2022. And it's about time we sent a conservative to Congress to really win back our party. The reason I got over 1.8 million votes, even more than Tom Kean Sr. and Tom Kean Jr. when he ran for statewide race, is because I ran on a common sense conservative platform. And believe it or not, there's a lot of independent and Democrat conservatives that are out there that want someone who believes in family values, who believes and knows how to fix the policies to better our healthcare system, and who knows and believes in our small businesses and what happens on Main Street. Listen, there was a time in our family's history where we didn't know where our next paycheck was going to come from. We didn't know how we were going to be fed, and we didn't know if we were going to be able to keep our house. Okay. Those values, the trials and tribulations that I grew up with, because when my father came here, he came to this country with only $100 in his pocket. He didn't have much. Either we made it or we didn't. And he worked 2 jobs. My mother worked 2 jobs and managed the household. That's how we were raised. I didn't have a silver spoon. I didn't have any handouts given to me, but I did have a lot of handouts. I had a lot of mentors and a lot of great people that I fought to get close to and understand how they work. And it's that drive that we need to instill in our children, that you can't rely on the government. You got to rely on your own common sense and your own upbringing. And we got to raise them with the right values. And that's why I'm excited that I will be the torchbearer, the representative and the nominee for the 7th District. And Tom Malinowski will be retired in 2022. It's going to be a great race, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really do think that 2022 is going to be a bloodbath for the Democrats. But I mean, okay, so what are your thoughts on like national figures like Kevin McCarthy coming to the district and holding fundraisers for Tom Kean Jr.? I mean, does that kind of worry you that perhaps they've kind of picked their guy already, or what do you think?
Well, listen, if politics in America only worked by a couple people selecting the who's who and rolling out the red carpet, then we wouldn't have a true American democracy, right? I believe in the people. I'm running with the people. You know what endorsements matter to me? The endorsements that matter to me is a small business pizza owner that got shut down unnecessarily and lost his business. Or the woman down the street who owns a hair salon, and these are true stories, by the way, that now has to shut down and sunk her entire life savings into opening up her business. When you have 1/3 of your small businesses off Main Street shuttered because of failed policies by Phil Murphy, you got to see which politicians and which people, Americans and New Jerseyans, stepped up to continue to fight for that. And then let the people decide. Let the people decide who wins. I'll tell you, Kevin McCarthy's not going to be calling every Republican in the district asking for the vote. And so, we work hard. We roll up our sleeves. We talk about what we stand for. We talk about our beliefs. And then the story writes itself. When I entered the U.S. Senate race, I entered in a competitive primary. We had 5 other people, at least 2 or 3 ended up dropping out, and I became the nominee. You know why? Because I focused on myself and I focused what I bring to the table. I don't care who endorses who, and none of that matters to me. What matters to me are the hardworking men and women of New Jersey that I continue to shake hands with, meet with, and fight for. That's what matters to me.
Great. Yeah. Speaking of your race for Senate, one of your opponents, Hirsch Singh, right? I think you guys.
Who's that?
Hirsch Singh was one of your.
I don't know him. Just kidding with you.
No, but I think during the course of that campaign, you guys kind of like had some beef, right? Are you guys cool now, or what?
I don't talk to Hirsch. I think that he's done a lot of unsavory things, not just to me, but to a lot of people. Listen, at the end of the day, we're all Republicans. We all believe, hopefully, in our conservative values and the right reasons to run for office. Saying negative things and slandering people, making up facts is not my style. But I don't really have much comment on him or not. I wish him the best in terms of whatever he chooses. I think more importantly, what we really have to focus on is getting more people of color and minorities back into this party in New Jersey. It's concerning to me, the lack of representation we have within the Republican Party among minorities. And I'll tell you what Virginia did right is that they were very effective in appealing to the minority vote. I mean, how exciting is Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears, a Jamaican immigrant who's come to this country, fought hard for raising her family and fought hard for our country. A real inspiration, but a true conservative, a true fighter for the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. Those are the women and men that inspire me. And if we can build some of that back into our party here in New Jersey, boy, oh boy, we will be unstoppable. But in order for that to happen, our party needs to change. Some of these leaders need to take a hard look at the party politics and who's making the shots, calling the shots, and who's representing who. I'll tell you, I will continue to fight for our party, for the proper representation, for more women and minorities to be involved, for us to be successful so that we can get that conservative voice. And I'm going to do that without compromising my values or my principles. Because at the end of the day, I don't need to be a politician. I want to be one because I want to represent the people and I want to be a public servant. And I'll tell you, those that have lost sight of that shouldn't be in politics anymore.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of the lieutenant governor position, right? I believe in this year's race, right? You were mentioned as potentially a LG candidate, right?
I did have some discussions. Sure, ultimately it was Jack Chiarelli's choice.
Right.
Very proud of the work that he did. But yes, there was some consideration of me being on that short list. That's right.
Yeah, I thought you would have been great. I mean, of course, Alan was a great candidate, but I thought that you would have been great too. I mean, you garnered 1.8 million votes just fresh off your Senate race. You would have inspired a lot of voters to come out. But of course, this year, yep, sure. So I asked the same questions to Shawn Hyland before. We asked some fun questions, right, to let the voters to get to know Rik Mehta as the person, right? So Rick, what are some of your favorite foods? What is your favorite movie? Who does most of the cooking in the Mehta household?
Well, I tell you, I'd be lying if I said it was me, man. I really am lucky. My wife, Rima, she's beautiful, smart. We've known each other for more than 25 years.
And she's standing right next to you also, right? So she's like,
that's right. She's browbeating me right now to make sure I say the right things. No, truly, it's a real blessing to have what I have. And but she does all the cooking. Now, let me tell you something about that, though. And this is a fun fact. I'm actually married into a family that comes from the food business. Her father is a Indian sweet maker and owned a restaurant. My brother-in-law also does Indian foods, groceries, and produce. And so cooking was always something that was really important to us and our family and our values. Her mother, God bless her soul, she was a beautiful cook, and she just, my wife got those skills and those talents. So I kind of like leave it to her. Plus, she enjoys it. I do all the cleanup though. We do the tasting and the cleanups.
Well, the cleanup is just as important, right?
I think so.
Yeah. All right, Rick. Is there a website that you have that you want the viewers to check out?
Absolutely. Listen, Ron, we have a really exciting race ahead of us. Those that really believe in supporting family values, that want to fight back against these tyrannical lockdowns. And I got to tell you, the theme of my campaign for 22 is freedom wins. That's it. Freedom wins. Go to rikfornj.com. That's RIKFORNJ.com, and check us out. We're truly fighting for freedom. We've lost our individual liberties. There's no one that understands that better than me. And we're going to continue to put America first and fight for policies that help New Jersey, that help America, and that continue to make an inspiration for our children to create generational wealth, to make sure that they can live the American dream. So rikfornj.com.
Great. I'm going to have it thrown up here. That's right? RIK4NJ.com, right? Rikfornj.com.
That's it. You got it.
Okay, perfect. One last question. So being from the healthcare field, right, and a pharmacist, what are your thoughts on this vaccine and the never-ending boosters?
Yeah, listen, I believe in personal choice with this vaccines. And I got to tell you, and there's something that's important that everybody needs to understand. There's only one vaccine for ages 12 and up that's currently FDA approved. And never in our history, and I've said it, and you can quote me on this, it's unprecedented, unethical, and unconstitutional to mandate the use of vaccines that are still under investigational status. And right now, that's exactly what's happening. So for me, a government overreach to interfere with the patient-physician relationship is probably one of the worst travesties that's happened in the history of our country. And it didn't start with the vaccines. It actually started under Obamacare. We probably don't have enough time to talk about that, but I'll tell you right now that I'm going to be a champion for doctors. I'm going to be a champion for healthcare, and I'm going to be a champion for patient rights by protecting the patient-physician relationship. I'll tell you, for anyone that's interested in the vaccine, talk to your doctor. It might be right for you. I would never discourage anyone from getting the vaccine. If you feel it's right, go get it. And I think, God bless you. I believe in American innovation. I believe in medical innovation. And I'm very proud that the vaccine innovation was done right here in our country. Because if it wasn't, communist China is chomping at the bit to take it away from us. So, God bless it was done. It's the Biden administration's fault to try to force Americans to take it, especially those that have natural immunity against the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein, and especially not understanding what the long-term effects to really balance what the benefit risk of using the vaccine is. So, a lot of healthcare professionals are afraid to step up and say the right thing, but every single one of them should be advising their patients about not just the benefit, but also the risk, and allowing for patients to make an informed consent. And that's something that's really important to me, and I'm going to fight for that when I get to Congress.
Perfect. And to close it out, well, actually, no, there's a question that you forgot to answer, Rick, and it was your favorite movie.
My favorite movie. Well, gosh, I'll tell you, my all-time favorite is probably Shawshank Redemption. It really speaks to the institutionalization that can occur and kind of what's happening now when you have a large government. But not to make it all about politics, I just love that movie, and I think Morgan Freeman's just a brilliant actor. So, and
I think that movie kind of correlates to what's going on right now, right? Because the protagonist in that movie, he literally had to crawl through crap to get out, and
it sometimes feels like that, doesn't it?
And it kind of seems like we're kind of like mired in crap now. We're trying to crawl through, but there is light at the end of that tunnel, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's a great movie and a great analogy for what's going on in our country right now. Shawshank Redemption. There you go.
Exactly. And we got a comment here from Basil. Two great candidates looking good in the future. Well, he's talking about you and Shawn. So Basil is our 92-year-old viewer. He's my biggest fan. So we thank you, Basil.
Yeah, God bless you, Basil. Appreciate the kudos.
All right, guys. So If you want to check out more about Rik Mehta and his campaign, go to Rik4NJ, RIK4FORNJ.com. Rick, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and we hope to have you on again because I know there's a lot that we can talk about. I really want to pick your brain because you've got a lot of knowledge in this healthcare field. So we would love to, have a chance to chat with you again in the future.
Anytime, Ron. Thanks so much for having me. And I promise you next time we'll get on a lot quicker. So I appreciate you having me.
Thank you, Rick, and good luck on your campaign. And, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And we will see you very soon. Okay.
God bless you, Ron. Thank you. Happy holidays to you as well.
Thank you, Rick. Bye-bye. All right, guys. So, wow, what a jam-packed show. Super Sunday. Oh, we have one last comment here from Diana. Best of luck. Yep. Best of luck to Rick and to Shawn, of course, to me and to everyone else, right? And all that we do in our lives, right? So that is it for today, guys. We will be on again next week, the 12th, right? Join us live on the 12th next week. But however, that's all contingent on one thing. So if you guys know, or if you don't know, I'm going to tell you now. My wife is pregnant, right? She is due. She's due on the 22nd of December, which is coincidentally a day after my birthday. So if anyone who's watching right now wants to send me a card or a present for my birthday, feel free. I'm not going to turn it down. So my birthday is December 21st. But on December 22nd, that's when my second child is due. But, we've scheduled to have the baby come out through C-section on the 15th. So on December 15th, that's when we're scheduled to have the new baby, sorry. But, there's a chance that our baby might come out a bit sooner because he's been very active. He's been kicking around. So if that does happen, I may be off the air for a couple of weeks, right? But, next week is the 12th. So assuming everything is still normal, I should be on next Sunday. Okay, just to give you guys a heads up. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. Please check out our YouTube page, right? We're also streaming live to my YouTube page. Okay, the YouTube page, just search for Real Talk with Ronnie, and of course, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Real Talk with Ronnie. If you have any questions, if you want to come on, if you think you'd be a great guest, you can email us, realtalkwithronnie@gmail.com. realtalkwithronnie@gmail.com. Okay. Once again, it's been an honor and a pleasure to talk to you guys tonight. I wish you happy Hanukkah, happy Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and I wish you a very safe and merry holiday season. And most importantly, a very happy new year. All right. So until we meet again next week, most likely. If not, I will see. Okay. If you don't see me by next Sunday, that's probably going to mean one of two things, right? Either my son was born, so, I'm busy, or maybe I got struck by lightning. But anyway, I will see you guys next week. Same time, same place, 8 p.m. Okay. You're now watching Real Talk with Ronnie, and have a great, great night. Bye-bye.